Edith and I. Oh, welcome to tea time, by the way.
Hi, everybody.
Yes.
Forgot you were there. I'm Edith. This is Thuy, and we're going to have a little discussion, a little chat,
Yes.
or an argument, depending.
Tea time stands for Thuy and Edith argue.
Yes.
Tea time.
Tea time.
It's always tea time
Always tea time.
when Thuy and Edith are around.
in the same room. Together.
Yeah, we were talking recently about these crazy dating shows that exist and have existed over the years.
Right.
Edith has a couple of favorites.
I do have one favorite, one that I used to watch. Well, you won't know about this one. It's a British one. It was called Blind Date. I believe you have a blind date over here, right?
There is a blind date over here.
Okay. So on our blind date, the host, for one thing, she was superb. Her name was Cilla Black. She has since passed away.
Oh, okay.
Cilla Black. And she would have one person, male or female, and she'd have three guests on the other side of a curtain, so they'd be separated. So she'd introduce the three guys, and then the girl would come out, she'd talk to the girl, then the girl would ask the guys three questions, and she'd end up picking one of them. Then they'd pick a date, go on a date, come back the next week and talk about it. It was a fun show.
Oh, so that's actually cool because you actually find out the results afterwards.
Yeah.
Because most dating shows, you're just like, all right, we paired you up, and then they send them on the way at the end.
And nothing, you don't know anything.
Right.
Okay, well, in this one, after they say, okay, so one couple got a trip to, they came to America, actually, to St. Louis. They went to St. Louis.
Okay.
And the girl was into the guy. The guy picked the girl. And she was very happy with him. He, however, was not very happy. And she's like, I'm old-fashioned and I think the guy should make the move and blah, blah. And he says, well, on the first night, I invited her back to my hotel and she declined. So I just figured she wasn't interested in me. And she's like, well, when we came off, I said, I bet you wish you'd have picked number 3, don't you? And he said, no, I'm fine. So she's like, well, I thought that were a good sign. And all the way through, she's saying all these good things. And all the way through, like, they have a little one-on-one with the camera. So they're saying what they thought of the person and things throughout the day. And in the one-on-one, she was all happy and thinking things were going well. And he was all, I wish I'd have taken number 3 with me. And it were a beautiful place. And so... But that was one of my favorites, Blind Date with Cilla Black.
Okay, so did that come before the English version?
Or
the American version, I mean?
I don't know when the American version started. This was like in the 80s, back in the 80s, Blind Date with Cilla Black.
Oh, okay. So this is, I think that was a precursor to it then.
Okay, so when was the Blind Date from America?
The Blind Date, the American version, let me find out for sure. Game show. That one I didn't watch in the US because there's so many dating shows to pick from. I watched other dating shows, but Blind Date, the American version, it says that it was in 1999.
99, okay. Well, this was back in the 80s, so
right.
Yeah. And then so from America, my very favorite one. But you all know I'm a big Jerry Springer fan, right? So Jerry once did a dating show called Baggage, which was hilarious.
I didn't know this when we talked about Jerry in a previous episode that he had that show.
Yeah.
And then when you told me about it, then I watched it.
Yeah. It was a funny one. It were funny. I mean, yeah, I'm not certain they were there to really find love as opposed to just, go get some dirty baggage out.
Right.
But
now,
it was a funny one. I enjoyed that also.
I think because of the premise of the show, Jerry was a little bit more loose. Like it wasn't serious things like people cheating on their spouses and then their families now is in shambles.
No, it was bringing people together. It was a love thing.
I'm saying that because the episodes I watched, Jerry's being like a little bit silly, and he's like
always
improving.
silly.
He's being very,
He was like that with the Jerry Springer show too. He was quick. He was quick.
Right.
Someone would say something and Jerry would be on it, and he always made me laugh. But he was an entertainer.
This even more so because it's a little bit more lighthearted. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Versus, oh yeah, I'm about to tell my husband of 25 years that I'm sleeping with his dad or whatever. Yeah. This is a little bit more playful, and it was playful, Jerry.
A little deep. I mean,
I don't know. I was throwing a little hypothetical out there, but baggage. So tell me about baggage, even though I did see a couple of episodes.
Okay, so in baggage, you have, like, obviously it's one girl picking from 3 guys, but they will take a suitcase with them. They'll have a suitcase, and when they open up the suitcase, it'll say what their baggage is. And it's not like, I got 5 kids and I'm on my own. It's stuff like you saw, I have hammer toes, bunions, and corns. Like, if you open up a suitcase and see that, you're like, oh, I'm not even going to ask any more questions. That's it.
Right. That's an example.
That's an example. That's one example of things what happen.
Right. And then the couple episodes that I saw, another example was like, oh, I go tanning 5 times a week. Like, that's not a big deal. Who cares?
I mean, if you have to go tanning 5 times a week, what's your problem? I mean, what's up?
You go to the bar 5 times a week.
Used to. Past tense. No more.
Whatever.
Socializing with people, because I don't go to a bar that's empty and sit on my own in a corner. I socialize, play a bit of pool, But you go in tanning, it's like, oh, I'm too pale. Let me go. Let me go to a gym. I mean, why do you go tanning? You go tanning to look darker, right?
Well, it's something with your looks. So people can go to the gym 5 times a week. People go get manicures and pedicures. They do something for their exterior looks. They go get a haircut.
Yeah, again, I would close that suitcase.
Okay.
But anyway, baggaged, a love thing. So yeah, it was like that. So then obviously the person who's picking, they also have a suitcase with baggage with something in. So they would pick whoever they wanted, but then she'd have to open her case and see what the baggage is, and they would be like, no, sorry, I'm not going to go on a date with you. Right. That's too much baggage for me. So that was another one of my favorites.
That's like one way of filtering really fast if you're going to get to the nitty gritty.
Right.
But I feel like that first level of baggage, it was always something superficial.
Right.
I mean, it's so stupid. It's about like their looks, or it was about something very petty.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? You think that's something that was, they save it till, I forget, like second round or third round, but like the bigger stuff, like this is definitely a deal breaker. Like if you're a smoker, so whoever that suitcase belongs to, you're out. That I could see. Right. But of course, like they're gonna slowly try to reel you in with the silly, stupid stuff. Like, okay, yeah, I've got bunions, or I've got a mole someplace that you can't see. It's kind of like whatever. Like, who cares? But
I've got the tattoo of my ex on my ass.
So if you're okay with that, right? It's a little bit silly, but that's what brings the viewers in, and then the more serious stuff comes out later,
right?
But I mean, talk about, that's like a speed date that goes deep real quick,
right?
And then you make your decision.
Well, it's all about your secrets. You have, I think there's 3 cases in all that you have,
right?
So you bring 3 cases, and each secret gets a little, in this case, a little nastier because it was Jerry Springer. It was still in theme with Jerry Springer,
right?
But
of course,
it wasn't Jerry Springer,
right?
But yeah, so some of them were.
I remember watching. I wasn't a huge fan, but it was on and I watched it because it was on. I know that's horrible to say, but just like how you like those shows like Jerry,
Mm-hmm.
it causes me, it gives me a little bit like unsettled feelings in my stomach and stuff.
It
But
makes
like
you
dating
anxious?
shows, a little bit. But dating shows, it wasn't like that. But it was kind of like, oh, this is so stupid. Do people really watch this, or is they entertained? But I am a little bit guilty of watching back in the day, like in the 90s, some of those MTV ones, such as Next.
Okay.
That was brand new.
What was that about?
And that would be where, say, one girl, in this example, one girl has 5 guys lined up, but they're in an RV or in a bus nearby. And she goes on a date with the first guy. They've already determined which order the guys are in, right? And they give a little bit
determined this? The
show.
producers? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
And they give you a little intro, like the guy might be like, "Hi, I'm Aaron. I'm 23 and I'm looking for love." Like it's something totally cheesy, right? And then like the next guy, "Hi, I'm Steve. I'm 23 and I'm in med school. Okay. And I'm trying to be the doctor. I don't know, the love doctor." Like some stupid tagline. It's always like that, right? And then it's kind of funny because when they meet the girl and they're watching the little trailer of who the girl is, she's like walking or she's enjoying a little.
So they watch this on a screen.
Yeah. So they get
see
to know
who's going to be picking them.
Right.
They see that, but she don't see them.
Correct. Until they have the date, right? So in the meantime, it's kind of funny because they're sizing each other up. They're in that bus or that whatever, and they're like kind of making fun of each other, like, "Really, bro? Like, look at those shorts." Or but it's so cheesy. It's not mean, but it's not like really clever, right? So they're ranking on each other and stuff, kind of. But they also form like a little bit of a bond because if they get like rejected, they're like, "Oh man, bro, so sorry for you," you know, whatever, right? But then, so they show a little bit about the girl. She might be like, "Hi, I'm Christy. I'm 19 and I want a guy who has a good relationship with his mom and knows how to treat me like a lady." I don't know. I'm making it up, right? And then she'll be going on the date with the first guy number 1. And again, the bus is right nearby. So he steps right off the bus and then he goes on their little date, whether it's a picnic or whatever. And she kind of will ask him some questions. And then eventually it might be like, "So how do you feel about tuna salad?" Because they're on a date and they're eating a picnic. It's seriously this trivial and this silly.
Okay.
And he'd be like, "Oh man, I'm allergic. I can't stand tuna fish salad." She'd be like, "Next." And then it's like the next guy. You know what I mean?
Tuna?
Yeah. It's something stupid like that. And then the guy's like, "Okay." And then he gets back on the bus and then the second guy comes down. And basically she knows that she has up until 5 guys. So she could stick with guy number 3 or she could see like what the 4 and 5 might have to offer.
But it's always on this same date. They're still at the picnic or whatever.
No, they try to change it up so it's not like the same scenery and it's not the same activity. So maybe like on the second guy.
So when she says next, then they'll just decide to go to a different location.
Yeah,
or does she get on a bus as well?
Oh no. She doesn't know who any of them are. So either the producers decided or maybe like she has already kind of determined, but they'll move it along. So it's not like the same activity in the same scene. So now she might be eating dessert. And then the next scene might be like now they're doing something like biking.
Okay.
It's something different, you know. So it's so silly and it's so superficial.
Right.
It's so about silly things. Yeah.
They were, when you said that they're the people are in the bus, like there was another one that was MTV, I believe, called Tailgating.
Okay.
So, and I would love to do this. Like if you went on a date, I would be like watching everything that you're doing. I'd be in a bus, like me and all your buddies and your family and stuff. We'd all watching you go on this date. So we're all giving crap back, like, "Oh my gosh, look at his head," or
"Can I hear you?"
No, I don't think that you can hear what we're saying, or maybe you can. It won't. I mean, what's the point if you can't hear what we're saying, right?
Maybe you give the commentary afterwards, like after I'm done with the date, and then you all come back and be like, he didn't hold the door for you.
It's throughout the date. Like, yeah, it's called tailgating.
Wow.
So I think that would have been one that I would have watched if I grew up in America.
You do that anyways.
What? Tailgate?
When I'm on a date or something, aren't you always over there behind that bush?
No, next to you.
Like trying to like
down end
see what I'm doing
with a moustache and a hat, a bowler hat and a moustache and a newspaper.
You don't need that. You blend in with the shadows.
What's she doing over there? Oh my gosh. She on her phone. I cannot believe Thuy. She's on a date and she's playing Candy Crush.
You're not supposed to be.
She's playing Scrabble.
You're not supposed to be critiquing
words.
me. You're supposed to be critiquing the guy.
I'm critiquing everything. Everything.
You mentioned family members and people watching and doing the commentating.
Uh-huh.
There was a show called Dismissed, which is a little bit like that. But I don't know how. I don't know the logistics of it. But say a guy was going on a date with this girl. He had like two of his best buddies in a car or in an unmarked vehicle, like something nearby.
Uh-huh.
And they had things hooked up where he can hear what the buddies were saying. And like professional polygrapher or FBI profiler.
And that were called Dismissed?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, please tell me if I'm wrong.
I'm going to tell you you're wrong. But
so,
continue.
Well, the premise of it was the profiler could tell by either she was hooked up to something too, or maybe her body language and the way her voice fluctuated, if she was responding truthfully or not. So he might, they might be on a date and nonchalantly throw in there like, oh, do you still talk to any of your exes? No. She like tosses her hair or something. Oh, that's a lie. And whatever. Right. And then the bros would be like, dude, she's lying to you, dude. Oh, stop right now. And he's like, he can hear all of their stupid comments in their ear. And he'll be like, no, she's kind of hot. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to see what else, what she will tell me. And then they'll just ask like these little questions. And I don't know how much of the questions are really what they want to know or what the producers are prompting them to ask. Like, oh, ask her if she has any tattoos. Right. Ask her if
there's another one called Dismissed that I recall, Dismissed from MTV, where two girls go on a date with the same guy. All three of them together go together. So like firstly the two girls will meet up and like one's like, oh, look at her. But they're not even quiet. They're just like, you don't stand a chance. I mean, look at your nails. And then like, well, look at your hair. Oh, your breath stinks. Like, so those two get at it first. Then they meet up with a guy, introduce himself. And one girl's like, I want to take you here and we're going to do this on our date. So they'll do what they're doing on the date. All three of them together.
Yes.
And the person whose date it isn't, like the one girl will go on her date first. The other girl has a card that she can use, like a timeout card, so she can get some private time with this guy. And then they'll go on the other girl's date and same thing, timeout card. And then the guy has to choose at the end which one is not dismissed, which he's staying with, and who is dismissed.
Yeah. Talk about a third wheel.
Right?
Yours is correct. Yours is dismissed. Mine is exposed.
Exposed.
That's what that was called.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, so many dating shows.
There are.
Back then. I mean,
I got them all confused.
And they were kind of cheesy. We talked about another one. What were they? Room Raiders. I mean, that would be So in Room Raiders, what you have to do, like the three guys say. No, one girl, right? One girl
either or
has three guys to choose from, and she'll go check out their bedrooms and see what their rooms are like. But I mean, if you know that you're coming on this show, you're going to do something a little, like you might have a vibrator under your pillow, or you just place things in. Someone's going to be coming to your place to take a look around. So you can manipulate it any way you like, right?
I don't know how far in advance they know that they're chosen to be filmed.
All right.
And
so it's not like they just knock at your door and say, okay, we're going to film you and we're coming in right now.
I don't think that it's that candid.
No.
They know that they've tried out an audition to be on the show, and maybe they gave a selection of who they would potentially like to be vying their love for. Yeah. But I don't know how far in advance. That's why some of those things, like we were talking about, even with like the Jerry show, like how much is staged, how much is kind of a little bit prompted, you know, with the Room Raiders. So I watched it back then too, just because it was MTV. You know, you watch whatever it had. You had Cribs or Pimp My Car. You just watched it because it was on, right? So Room Raiders, I watched a few episodes, and then watching it back now to refresh my memory and seeing what it was like back then. Holy cow. I want to say it's a little bit more outrageous in a sense because, and I'm not really that conservative, right? But some of these Room Raiders, for instance, I saw this episode where the guy was trying to look through 3 girls, their rooms, and one was like 19, the next one was like 21, and the last one was like 23. So there was a younger one, right? And then the increments were like that, and he was 25. So it's like, okay, whatever. I'm just thinking like, okay, 25-year-olds nowadays, you know, I'm just like 19-year-olds nowadays. Wow, they know a lot more than they really should, right? It should be like all innocent stuff. But think about a 19-year-old, you're still a kid. You're still a baby. And you're like a 25-year-old going out with like a 19-year-old kind of potentially. I don't know. It's a little bit icky. Well, he's going through all these different rooms and he doesn't know whose is who. He hasn't even met the girls yet. He's just picking the date, as you said, based on what their room looks like. One girl is living by herself. One is still with the parents. One has like a roommate, whatever, right? So, of course, he's doing things like the preliminary things. Like they're like, okay, let's get the UV light out. He scans their bed sheets and he does that. That's kind of gross. But then he'll look at other things. Of course, anything that has like pictures or any identifying type of things, they'll put away or they'll put a cover over it so he can't see their faces. But he might be like, oh, look, she's got some medals or some trophies. She must be pretty athletic. I like an athletic girl, whatever, right? He's trying to profile. Or he might be like, oh, let me see what her perfume smells like. You might smell it. Oh, that's gross. I don't like that. You know, so they're basing it on stuff like this, their ultimate decision. But what kind of a little bit appalling for me, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And I know I've seen this episode, but I don't remember every little detail, right? And he goes into, they gave him a toolbox, first of all, to like use like that UV light. They give him gloves, little tweezers or whatever to pick up stuff. He does this thing where he goes through their dirty laundry. They have a hamper there. I'm like, okay, that's gross. And he's like, ooh, okay, let's see. You know, let's see what her dirty laundry. Oh, this doesn't even look that dirty. And he's going through it and he's like smelling it and stuff
what
too.
A weirdo.
And then the last part of it, which is kind of like OMG, is he uses his little like pincers and stuff and he goes through their underwear drawer. And he's like, ooh,
at
look at these.
Clean.
Well, sure. But I'm just like, whoa, like this is the 19-year-old's underwear drawer. And then he's going through their stuff, their little like lacy, you know.
That's
and
Room Raiders.
Wow.
You can raid that room. Anything in that room is a go.
I was just kind of like, I want to say
so
shocked. I was like, wow,
So,
this was back in the 90s.
From that to today, like The Bachelor and Bachelorette, what about those? There was another one, what were they called? Singled Out.
They were
Now,
singled
that were
out.
weird. That were crazy. I mean, first off, there's 50 of them.
They start
And
off at 50.
And after 6 questions, I think it's 6 questions, she wheedles it down to 3 from just 6 questions. So if they answer the same, like they've got a grid with 6 blocks on, and like the host will ask her the question and she'll give the answer, and it's just one or two. It's A or B. You've only got a choice of 2. So that's how they wheedle it down first off to get it down to 3 people. But then she has questions, her own questions. I think there's like 5 like stairs that they have to climb down to get to her. So then she asks 5 questions, and whoever answers the same as what she answers, they get to move forward.
Right.
And that's singled out.
Right. But it's not, of course, because it's for entertainment. So it's not simple things like, if you're a smoker, move to the left, you know, or if you don't like working out, whatever. It's questions that are, I don't know, like stupid.
I know.
I'm trying to think of something that's totally silly. Not like, oh, if you have bunions, but something along those lines. Like, some of them were even like really, I mean, I felt bad sometimes, but it might be like, okay, if you're not 5'6" or taller, like something that they could have no absolute control over, you know? So it's like, oh, bye.
Yeah, bald. Are you bald?
Yes, they would. Yeah, they would have questions like that. But I don't know. I guess that's a good way to, like,
get
you said,
what you like, what you don't like, right?
Swipe left, swipe right. That's their version of back in the day. But The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, do you get sucked into that?
No.
Come on. You like that stuff. You watch Baggage.
I watched Baggage.
If it was still on, you would still watch Baggage.
I probably would still watch it if I could find it somewhere. But you know, you could probably find it somewhere on that streaming TV channels.
They're not. Come on. People that go on there, they say, yeah, I'm a retired surgeon. I'm looking for love. They're not looking for love on there. They're looking for 5 minutes of fame. You're not really interested in who
comes on there, but who gets in touch with you afterwards.
Yeah.
Right.
Because guess what? Even if you don't end up being chosen by the Bachelor or Bachelorette, you know, a lot of these people, they end up maybe getting a guest spot on shows or movies or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They've got a few spin-offs of things to do, like I think a couple of the Bachelors have been on Dancing with the Stars, you know, like Bachelor and Bachelorette have been on there.
Now, do you know, as far as I know, what the original show was that did dating games like that?
The very first dating show in America.
Yeah. I had to say it like that because it's kind of like it would be just totally given away.
If you didn't say that, if you said like the dating game.
Yes. It's like, what was the original dating game? Right. Yes, that was. It was in 1965.
Right,
it was in 1965, and it was hosted by a guy named Chuck Barris. And the funny thing was, a lot of well-known celebrities went on there, went on that show.
A serial killer was on that show.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know he was, obviously.
They didn't. But the producer, the male producer, said to the female producer, I met this guy and he gives me a bad vibe. I don't want him on the show. And the female producer is like, he's handsome, he's a photographer and all this lot, and the women are going to love him. He needs to be there. So they had him on the show. And when I think he got picked. The woman was picking him. He got picked.
Yep.
Right? But then she said to the producer afterwards, he gives me the creeps. I am not going out on a date with him.
Right.
Which possibly could have saved her life.
Yeah. Yeah, if he was a serial killer. Because after that, they found out that he killed 3 other women after that appearance.
Right.
Yeah. But, I mean, who's to say that she's forced to actually go on that date? She picked him.
What's his name? Alcala? Something Alcala or something like
Rodney.
that? Rodney Alcala? Alcala, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Chuck Barris was the host, and famous people such as even Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson was on the dating game?
Yes. But he was the one that asked the questions as opposed to the host. So they changed it up a little bit.
Was it like a celebrity dating game?
Yes.
Oh, we're going to say, because Michael Jackson's been famous since he was 5 years old.
Right. That was a celebrity version. But then other people, before they kind of really hit it big, were also on it, such as Phil Hartman.
Okay.
Don Johnson.
Johnson?
Yes, it was like a year later that he became famous on Miami Vice. Could you imagine if you want to date with him and then later on he gets...
Is a movie star?
Yeah. He gets a TV show and everything and you're like, oh yeah, we're dating.
And it sucked. It was horrible.
Burt Reynolds has been on there.
Arnold.
Cool. Arnold.
That was... I mean, obviously it's celebrity. This is celebrity dating.
Yeah, those are.
These people do not need to go on a dating show to find love, I'm sure.
So I don't know if they were doing that just to get like maybe an in with like Hollywood and be on TV or just to get any kind of airtime at all. But that's kind of pretty cool that has that history. And the other thing with the dating game though was, as I was like reading more about it, I guess it had a horrible beginnings, because when people were asking the questions, like for instance, like, oh, if we were on a date and you were to kiss me, what would your kiss be like? I guess that the answers were really lewd and really graphic and just very
on the dating game.
Yeah.
So this was back in 65.
Yeah, and they used profanity, which in the day they couldn't air that. So then the producer was like, this is horrible. So I guess what they had done was, in order to not just throw it into the trash can, they wanted to still continue but change it up. Just they would tell their contestants
what to say.
Well, no,
the question
not to use profanity, but it didn't really deter them, because they thought that the more saucier they were, that they would maybe be chosen, or they would get like the airtime. Like they were trying to play it up for the sake of the show. But the producer had one of his good friends dress up and act like a police officer, and said he was there from like the FCC or something or other when they were in the green room getting ready, and would tell them that if they were to use profanity or anything that was like sexually explicit, that they wouldn't be on the show. So either clean up their act, or you're just not going to go on the air.
Yeah, but I mean, how do they know what they're going to say? Did they write the answers down already?
No, they don't know what they're going to say, but they just know that people's responses, given that they've tried it a few times, has just been so inundated with profanity and just just flat out sexual innuendos and stuff. And they said, you got to clean it up a bit, but they wouldn't listen. So when he had someone pose as some kind of commissioner from the FCC saying like, look, you're going to get kicked off, then they were like, oh, they don't want that to happen. So even though they kind of sort of, I don't want to say like lied, because it's not like he had some kind of official like badge or whatever, but they kind of, a little bit made them think that
out and out lied. Out and out lied.
So they cleaned it up a little bit, and then that finally made it kind of like good reviews and everything, and they were able to air their first episodes.
Okay.
And it was very popular. It was a huge game show, because back when that was on the air, they were competing with other game shows such as Jeopardy and The Price is Right. So whereas the producer's thinking, look, these shows offer cash. They offer things like cars, and we don't have that capacity. So they said, you know what? These people aren't going to get paid to appear, but we're offering something intangible. We're offering something that they won't be able to get on a show like Jeopardy or The Price is Right. And that is a chance at love. Cheesy, huh?
Suckers.
Yeah, I know. Yes.
Yeah.
That was their sort of like their whole shtick. So they're not paying any of the contestants to go on there, but they get a chance to leave with possibly the love of their life.
Do they get a vacation out of it?
I don't know. I don't know if they got paid to fly out there and do all that. I think not.
Well, I just mean like when they find whoever they find, do they send them on a trip like on Blind Date that I used to watch? They'd have an abundance of cards to pick from, and they'd pull out a card. This is where they go on their date. So it could be skydiving or like...
Right.
I think the last one I watched, they went to Israel. Because I was just watching it. I was watching it again because we were going to be talking about it. So I watched The Love Connection, and then I watched Blind Date, and the girl picked the guy, and he picked the card, and she read it, and they're going to Israel.
Wow. No, I don't. For this, I don't think that they send them anywhere. Like, it's up to them to go off to dinner on their own or whatever. They were just pairing them up, So
I would have done Blind Date for that reason, to being able to go on a splendid vacation somewhere.
You would sign up to go and do that, you're saying?
I would have done.
Right.
Yeah, to take a trip. Yeah.
Yeah, but not like if you are going to be attached to this person that is potentially annoying or...
I have 2 feet. I can walk away. I can, okay, we got to meet here because we got to do this. It's going to be on camera. Until then, peace. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, let's take a trip. If it's not working, obviously, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to not enjoy your vacation.
Wow.
You're still going to have a good vacation. So I do that one for the trip. Yeah.
And then next year we see Edith on there again.
Yeah, for another trip. I need a new trip. Let's try this again.
Wow. Jeez, Edith.
Wow, what? You do it?
No.
Yes.
No, I wouldn't.
Yes, you would.
I'll just save up and go on the trip by myself.
Well, you could do that too.
Wow.
But it's more fun. It's more fun pretending to go with someone.
So
Well, not even pretending to go with someone. Going with somebody. If you have no
just
friends,
to test it out.
Yeah. Yes.
I gotta bring this up because I think that you would also do this one, which I would not in a million years. Okay. A more recent one, recent meaning 2014 is when it came out.
Uh-huh.
Dating Naked. That was a reality show.
What?
Yes. You pair up people, but from start to finish, you're dating in the nude.
So what? You go out for dinner in the nude?
Yeah. That's
Just in
the
a
premise.
little-
That's
in
the
a-
premise of the show.
That's
Now-
rubbish.
Now, for the show, of course, they're going to blur out like the female's breasts and both of their crotches and stuff,
Right.
but they're just
so
meeting
the
each other.
pixelate everything out. But I mean, where are they going on a date? Because unless it's a nudist camp, you're not going to be able to go anywhere on a date.
It's probably filmed on a remote island
Yeah.
where people, yeah, of
so
course.
it's BS, right? Because it's not real life. That's not what you do. You don't go out and sit naked and chat to people. It's just not done. So what is the point of a show like that? Some people might do that, and we're not knocking those folks that do like to do that. It's okay. But I'm sure you've got your territory where you have to go, because otherwise you'd be arrested.
It's filmed in an exotic location. Yes.
Okay.
So the film crew probably booked this island for like a month.
So why would I do this, Thuy?
Because I think you'd be gutsy enough to do it. You'd be like courageous enough, and you don't care. You're like, whatever, okay. Then I'll be on an island for a month. You would.
I would not do that. For one, I don't want to go out and have some food looking at some stranger's Johnson while I'm eating.
Well, you don't have to stare at it, but he happens to be naked.
Stare at it. It's what you do. You stare at things that should be covered up. It's like, oh my gosh, what's he doing with his pee-pee out? Stop. Put it away. I'm looking.
But you're in the nude too on the same date.
And then stop looking at my boobs, will you? Eat your applesauce.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it would be something like that.
Here's
Kind of
another
vile.
one that's a little bit outrageous, but it's more than dating because the ultimate goal is actually like marriage. But things like Love at First Sight and 90 Day Fiance. Talk about like dating to like marriage. All
Love at First Sight. What's that about? Obviously, spotting someone and thinking you're in love.
so with Love at First Sight, it's a series where, say, if it's a guy and he's wanting to find his potential mate, so 10 girls are in these like pods and in these like rooms, like these separators and stuff, and they have dates and they get to know each other. They can talk. They don't really, I mean, they can't physically touch, but they can talk and communicate that way.
They can see each other?
And they get to know each other.
Oh, you can't see each other.
Correct.
Right.
And they don't know each other until more series of dates. He can start filtering them out and choosing who moves on, etc. Until there's like the one girl. And then if they choose to meet, they actually meet at the altar. And then when they turn around and they see each other, they can choose to say, I do or not. It is like a fast-paced way to get married.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's just like boom, boom, and they're making all decisions without having visuals and without basing things on materialistic things like, oh, I don't like her hair, or oh, he's too short, or he's balding, but they fall in love with the person. They have these deep conversations and this and that, and people follow along their stories. Love at first sight. You don't know what they look like.
Wow.
And then you don't know what they look like until you're put on the spot at the altar and you turn around and face each other, and then you can decide to say I do or not.
Wow.
Yeah. That's intense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not something anybody should be doing. I mean, that's not cool.
So you definitely wouldn't do that.
I definitely wouldn't do that.
Even if it's just for be able to appearing on a show.
If I were talking to someone and I thought this person's really nice, blah, 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 everything's really cool, we've got things in common and stuff, and then I meet up with them and this person is much smaller than I am, it would be very difficult.
That would be very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to sound like materialistic and stuff, but we've talked about this before as far as like what we're attracted to in a potential
being
partner.
Superficial and stuff.
Well, it's not superficial where it's like, like his hair is too short or it's too, but there's certain things that you're attracted to because that's the whole chemistry part.
Right.
Superficial would be like, oh, like he doesn't make enough money. I'm talking about like physical chemistry, like because you really like their smile or their eyes. You know, there's some things, and I don't know.
Long legs and meaty arms.
What if he was just everything fit the bill and he was like awesome, but then he's just like a smidge too short. He makes tons of money. He wants to take you all around the world. He'll give you foot rubs every night.
And then we're at the altar and I turn around and I say this.
Yes.
I said, before we finish, can you just pick me up, please? See if you can pick me up. If you can pick me up with ease, throw me up in the air. I'll be like, okay, all right, it's on. I do.
Wow, you're easy. That's all it takes, huh?
I'm not easily lifted. That's for one thing.
I could lift you.
Yeah, well, you're the weird Amazon Asian. Double A. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. Oh, no, it's not TT. It's AAT.
Amazon Asian. Amazonian Asian.
Yeah.
Amazing Asian.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No. Anyway.
I wonder.
Love.
Yeah. I was going to say, I wonder what some of our viewers, like what their favorite dating shows were.
And if they met on a dating show.
Yeah.
Or if they would ever go on a dating show.
Because there's only a few dating shows that actually do follow-ups that kind of call the contestants back to see like, how'd it go? You know? And because I think most of the time, the reason why they don't do those follow-ups is probably because it doesn't work out. It's just for funsies.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, even if it don't work out, we want to know that too. Like on the blind date that I used to watch with Scylla. When people come back and the one person has one thought of how the date was and what they were thinking of this other person, and the other person has a totally opposite thought of how the date went, and sometimes both of them, they just hit it off and they say, yeah, it all went really well. We've been out 3 times since then and we're getting married next week.
I would like to know with those bachelor and bachelorette, like people are fanatics with that. People would be like, oh, the rose ceremony, I got to go home and watch it. I want to know how much of those, you see those headlines where like, oh, so-and-so bachelor breaks it off with.
I know.
It's like, how many of those worked out?
Like the Golden Bachelor, do you remember that one?
Yes.
Just not so long ago.
It's still going on.
Oh, we saw they're doing another one, like, because the first one, the very first Golden Bachelors, right? They said they were going to get married, but then when it like 2 months later, they were like, oh, yeah, that's not happening. We're not getting married. We don't think it's right. We do really love each other. We do care for each other, but it just won't work. So we're not going to get.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You love each other. You care for each other, but it won't work.
Right. But that's the thing. But now they've already been on TV and people have known their faces. So then now they can get like maybe a movie deal, or they try to do like a book, something. It's just, it's just to be on TV, social media, all that.
I mean,
what's the success rate?
Bachelor or bachelorette, obviously not one that's waiting for a rose. I wouldn't be like one of the. I'd have to be picking, obviously. I'd be the bachelorette. also
Wait.
for the vacations and stuff, because they go on trips. They go on so many dates.
You wouldn't be like
I
one of the
won't wanna
50 like trying to like compete against these other.
It depends on where we're staying.
Okay, somewhere exotic, somewhere that you
somewhere
want.
exotic.
Yeah.
I might go and pretend I want a rose, or I might just go and hang out and, like, just chill.
Would you be like talking to these other chicks, being like, "Look,
Yeah, I'd be saying, "Oh, not enough makeup. Put more makeup on," because they all like to wear a lot of makeup.
Right.
Not enough perfume either. More perfume.
wow,
Yep. Nails look good. Look fine. I think you need to brush back the hair a little bit. What do they call it? Backcomb it? Boofy. You look perfect. I'd be giving them all kinds of tips.
wow, really?
Mm-hmm.
You're conniving."
I am. I mean, I'd be giving them good tips.
I don't think so.
Those tips were good.
You don't do your hair or makeup, so how can you give hair and makeup tips?
Why would you want to take advice from me? Exactly.
They wouldn't.
You don't know. They might. Because a lot of these people don't have many. I want to say a lot of these people.
I think that you should just do that anyways. I know you're with Tony and everything, but I think that you should just do that for any smart TV show would bring you on for the views, the ratings. Why are you flicking me off?
Yeah, they should get me on there. You know what I'd like to go on, although I've not seen it? I'd like to be on House of Villains.
What's that?
I don't know. They all stay in a house and do conniving things.
Oh, you want to be on like a Big Brother show?
Is it Big Brother?
Well, one of
House
those
of
things where
Villains?
basically you just bring in like a whole bunch of random strangers and then you're supposed to all just get along because you live in this house together now.
Yeah, but don't you win cash? House of Villains? Is it
I don't
not
know.
like a winner? Everybody, it's just like the other things like the challenge and all the rest where Survivor and, you gotta fight to the death to win something.
I want to see you on The Love Connection, that 80s one.
With Chuck Woolery.
Yeah. Because if you were one of the three contestants, like say like there's a guy and then he has to pick between like three girls, I think your answers would be not the typical answers like the other two contestants would be responding. Like he might be like, "So, I really like eating. What would you make me as your first meal on our first date?" And the first girl might be like, "Well, I have my mother's recipe for meatloaf and I would make you that, whatever, right?" And then you'd be like,
"I would make you take me to an all-you-can-eat buffet where you can eat as much as you bloody well like."
Right.
That's
nice.
what I would make.
See, your response would not be the same as the other two chicks.
Right.
So I think that you should go on something like that.
I see.
The Love Connection.
On that show, I didn't get it at all because, like, the one guy was sat down with Chuck, right, on the couch talking about stuff.
Or the girl.
And then they had the three girls, like, just on a computer screen, and they asked a few questions. And then one of the girls came out, and I think they'd been on a date already. Like,
oh, is that what happened?
I think.
On one of the shows? Well, maybe that was just a fluke that they happened to have met previously.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because normally it would be just people that they have not
met before.
Right. That was the whole point of it.
Well, when she came out, it was like they'd met, they'd done something.
Oh,
yeah.
And that was a fluke episode then.
Oh, so I watched a random one. That's why it didn't interest me that much. I should have probably watched another one. Wow. Which I might do.
Yeah, and then it's also the second part of it. I think it's like 15 minutes for each. So like the first contestant is a male and the second contestant is a female. So they're going after that. But now, nowadays I'm saying like male and then female, but now everyone dates everyone. But do you remember that the last thing I remember is the Shot at Love with Tila Tequila on MTV.
No. And
it was like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. So she was the person looking for love, right? And she would have, it was something like 20 guys or 25 guys, and get this, 25 girls. Yes. So she was what she proclaimed as a bisexual. So she liked guys and girls.
Okay.
And on this show, the guys would be competing for her affection, for her attention, and so would the girls.
So pretty much she's just making out with 50 random strangers, male and female.
And this was on MTV. Now, the thing was hilarious was wherever they were filming this, because it had to be, they want to keep it enclosed and then they can film everybody's interactions and all that stuff. So it was in maybe a huge house or something. But the contestants would be hooking up with each other.
Right.
The girls were saying that they were lesbians or whatever, but then meanwhile the guys were like, ooh, lesbians, so, and it was like a big spring break party.
That's exactly what it was.
And I'm just like, what is going on? This is a dating show. This is a hookup show. I'm like, you guys are just making it easy for 50 people to get together. Yeah. And so it was ridiculous. But in the end, she, this is no spoilers here, but in the end, she chose to go with a guy. They slowly, start whittling people down. And then it was down to one girl and one guy. Mm-hmm. And then whatever that final task or that final show, big display they had to do, she went with the guy. Now get this, it didn't work out. Surprise. Shocker. So there was a season 2, and I guess on the season 2 she actually went with a girl, but then the girl said that she ended the relationship because she wasn't ready to be dating a woman. I bet you she was just doing it for the airtime, just to be on TV. It's so stupid. That's why these things, they can't pay the contestants to be on it, because then their motives are, well, I guess they can still
they can't
benefit.
Pay them. They don't pay them for these things? No, they're just on it to appear. I mean, I'm sure they have to sign a million waivers and all that, but they're just doing it for a shot at fame. Could you imagine if they get their airtime plus they get paid for it? Tons of people would be signing up just for the money. You, the vacations. Yeah. Don't act so surprised. I'll do it just for the vacation. You don't have to pay me either.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I think though on the House of Villains they do get paid, but they're all pretty much celebs that are on there anyway. So.
Oh, okay. So there's huge personalities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then I would like to see you on something
it's
like
funny
that.
I've never watched it, but I wouldn't be on it. I've never seen it.
Because you know the premise.
Yeah, kind of. Anywho, Thuy would like to know what you all think of the 80s MTV dating shows, and she wants to know if any of you have met on those things, if you know anybody who met or has been on any of those dating shows, if you would go on any of those. I'm sure she wants to know that because Thuy is nosy. She wants to know a lot of things. So, let me say this. Thuy, can you tell our viewers where they can find us?
Were you going to say fans?
We're going to say friends. But we don't know if they're our friends or not.
You can use the F word.
No, I won't. Not yet.
Oh.
We're not close enough yet. We could be closer. If we have a love connection.
We'll be back in 2 and 2. You could find Thuy and Edith Argue, if you haven't already, because you're already watching it and listening to it, on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, any of those major leading listening platforms.
Bravo.
Thank you so much for watching and listening and putting up with Edith.
And Thuy. Bye. Good job, Thuy. You did good, girl. You did good. If you had fun listening today, please make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.